Welcome back to the channel. This is a More Better Ascend coming at you with a standard Mono-Red Fling Deck. Red deck wins. This is a very powerful, very fast deck. This can get the job done on turn 3, turn 2. Like this deck is just absolutely insane. Is a little bit of an older deck in terms of standard, just because of the fact that this was relevant during Duskmourn, and it had the card that ended up getting banned, which was Leyline of Resonance in best of 1. This is a Leyline of Resonance deck, but you can take these 4 cards out and swap them out with something else, and this deck would be just as powerful. It comes in at $77. You could definitely build this for probably cheaper than that, because these cards really aren't that expensive. I can show you the price points. Really where all the money is coming from is the Slick Shot Show Off. You could also cut this card very easily, so you can cut those, and you can cut the ley lines and make this deck a lot cheaper and swap them out with different cards of whatever your choice. But this is my version of it. I don't know why it says this, because clearly we have 61 cards, so not sure why it's saying that. But let's jump into the deck and talk about the synergies and the strategies. At 1 mana, we're gonna have the classic, just old faithful, old reliable Monastery Swiftspear. 1 mana, 1/2 with haste and prowess. You're gonna get that 1 damage on turn 1 for sure. And this whole deck is about prowess and about casting pump spells and things like that. So this is the best card for doing that kind of thing on turn 1. We also have, talking about pump spells, Monstrous Rage. This is a 1 mana instant. Target creature gains +2/+0 until end turn and create a monster roll token. Monster roll is the creature gets +1/+1 and has trample, and it's an aura that just stays attached to the creature forever. So from then on out, that creature will have trample and +1/+1 after you cast this on it, which is, trample's very good in this deck. We have Cacophony Scamp. This is another good 1-drop for turn 1, where you're going to drop this down. It's going to grow by putting these different pump spells on it, and then you just fling it, or you just attack with it, and then you can use this as removal by taking out a creature. If you can get its power up to, like, let's say you want to take out a Shieldred, get this power up to 5, attack with it. Even if it doesn't die and they just let it go through, you can still sack it and direct that damage at the Shieldred or at the face, whatever you want to do. Next up, we have another pump spell, which is perfect to go with the Scamp. It's Felonious Rage. This is target creature you control gets +2/+0 and gains haste until end of turn. So you could throw your Scamp out and then immediately cast this on it, and it'll have haste and be able to attack. And then when it dies, because if you intend on it dying, you get to leave behind a 2/2 white and blue detective creature token. So this is just another way to keep our board relevant, but also flinging and doing as much damage as we can with the Scamp. Next up is the Heartfire Hero. This is the other side of the Scamp. It's basically the Scamp, but it does it only when it dies. You can't choose to sacrifice it. So when it dies, it does the damage equal to its power to the opponent. But with the amount of pump spells that we have in this deck, you can just keep casting pump spells on this little guy, and he gets a +1/+1 counter every turn that you cast a spell that target, or an ability that targets this creature. So you can just keep targeting this over and over and over again, and it's just going to keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. It's become a very big problem for your opponent. And then all while these are being targeted, those prowess triggers are going to go off with your other creatures. Another pump spell we have in here is Turn Inside Out. This is from Duskmourn as well. It's +3/+0, and then you get, if it dies, just like with the Felonious Rage, where it leaves back the 2/2, this is going to leave a 2/2, but it's also going to be manifesting Dread with that 2/2. So underneath it could be, you know, a Swiftspear or a Slick Shot or a Sellsword or something, or a Scamp, and you could always just pay to flip that over so you can get the abilities of those creatures. Another card, this is a great for a fling deck. It's a 1/1 for 1 with haste, Monkey Toy. And it says, when Clockwork Percussionist dies, you exile top card of your library, and you may play it until the end of your next turn. So that's one of the issues with a deck like this, is that it's so low to the ground, it's so fast, that you're going to run out of cards really quickly, and then you're going to be top decking. And if your opponent is a mid-range or a late game kind of deck, and they take care of all of your threats early, you're kind of dead in the water in the late game. So you want to be able to get it done early. And this will give you, and even if you get this in the late game, it gives you access to another card, so that could be the difference maker. Now we have Callous Sellsword. This is the big strategy of this deck, is basically the sorcery side of this card. It's a sorcery for 1 that says target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to any other target, then sacrifice it. So if you fling the Scamp or you fling the Heartfire hero, then it's going to do double the damage. So you definitely want to attack with those creatures first. Let them do their damage, then fling them. So then it's almost like a triple strike. And you can close games out just basically by throwing those creatures at people's faces. Next up, we got our Slick Shot Show Off. This is a 1/2 for 2 flying haste, and whenever you cast a non-creature spell, it has prowess, but for +2/+0 instead of +1/+1. And you can plot this in case you are afraid of it getting removed when you play it for the first turn, or if you have a strategy to go for like one big alpha strike to take out everybody. But this is a good card just because it gets in over the air, and you can get through flyers a lot easier, because most flyers in the game right now are, kind of smaller until you get to those late game big flyers like the demons and stuff like that. But this could even get through some demons if you put enough pump spells on it. And now this is another card. The next card is a card that a lot of people don't really put in this deck, but I like it if it's a Leyline of Resonance deck. This is called Witch's Mark from Wilds of Eldraine. It's a common. Now, you wouldn't really think of a card like this in this deck. It's like, no one's put this card in any decks that I've seen. You discard a card, and then you draw 2 cards. So it's a way to get card advantage. And we only put 3 of these in the deck. But after you do that, you get to create a Wicked Roll token attached to up to 1 target creature you control. So this counts as a instant or sorcery that targets a single creature. So with Leyline of Resonance, it copies it. So now you get to put a +1/+1 enchantment on another creature. So it's like you get to discard a card and draw 2 cards, and then as a bonus, you get to put a 1/1 counter on another creature on top of that, all for 2 mana. And then if that creature dies, then it does 1 damage to their face. But there's a lot of cards like Demand Answers and stuff like that do the same exact thing as this card, that for the same amount of mana, but it doesn't have this little extra added bonus at the bottom of putting that aura on a creature. And with the next card that we're going to talk about, the Leyline of Resonance, if you cast an instant or sorcery spell that targets only a single creature you control, copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. So you get to put the Wicked Roll, and you get to put a Wicked Roll on another creature. It's just such great value for 2 mana. Even if you play it by itself without the Resonance out on the battlefield, it's gonna be definitely an advantage for you. Leyline of Resonance, say what you want about the card, it gets the job done. I've played some people with this deck. Games are over very early, before the other opponent can even get anything done. So if it starts in your opening hand, you sometimes some people just mulligan until they get one of them in their hands and get to put it on the field, because this deck is an insane powerhouse with this card, as opposed to not having this card on the battlefield. Like, it's still a very, very good deck, even without this card. But with this card, it becomes like S tier deck. It's insane the amount of damage you get to put through for so cheap and so quickly that no other deck can really stand up to it. Let's move on to the mana base. Very, very simple. We got 18 lands. You don't need more than that. We just got some mountains, and then we got 3 Blackleaf Cleave Cliffs, which is it comes in tapped unless you control 2 or fewer lands. So it's it's going to be your fast land. And the only reason that these are in the deck at all is just so if it comes down to the scenario where we need to cast the Callous Sellsword, we can. And his ability says that it'll enter with a 1/1 counter on it for each creature that died under your control this turn. So if you flung something, or if someone blocked one of your creatures and it died on your second main, you can cast this and it'll come in with a +1/+1 counter for each creature that died under your control this turn. So it could come in as a 3/3 or a 4/4 if they traded, or something like that. And it's only 2 mana, but that's the only reason why this is still those mana is in the deck. 1.53 average mana cost, kind of insane. 28 1-drops. That's absolutely insane. And then 4 4-drops that you're not going to ever cast for the full amount unless you're desperate. But look at this curve. This curve is unreal. I could, in reality, make this all 1-drops. There's a scenario where you can take out these 4, these 3, and Sellswords, and just throw in more 1-drops, because there are plenty of 1-drops out there to throw in there, and get the job done. We could throw in some shocks, we could throw in some stuff like that. But yeah, this deck is insane. It's very good, very fast, very aggro. If you play this for too long, it kind of, rots your brain, because you're just throwing creatures out there, turning them sideways and throwing pump spells on them. You don't have to, you literally, if you want to play Magic and not want to think at all, play this deck. This is for mouth-breathing droolers who just want to turn cards sideways and win games. And I'm here for it. I'm an aggro player, so I love this. So if you like this deck, like, comment, subscribe, do all the algorithm things. Let me know what cards you would swap out of this. Let me know if you would keep the Slick Shot. Let me know if you would keep the Clockwork Percussionist and the Witch's Mark and all the cards that are kind of outside of the realm of the meta for this style deck. I know that a lot of people have taken the Slick Shot out of the deck. So if you think that you have better cards to put in here, I would love to hear it, because I would love to upgrade this deck with some suggestions from the community. So I'm a More Better Ascend, and we'll see you tomorrow for another deck tag.